Impact and ESG investing is becoming increasingly popular with younger generations, Gen Z, millennials. In fact, they prefer investing in quality ESG and impact projects. Andrew, with uPledge, you're creating a platform that curates these projects and opportunities and presents them to people to invest on a retail basis. How do you go about curating the best projects, and what is the thought process that goes into identifying where you want to focus?
We have initially started out with our own internal curation process, meaning that we scrape sites, we scrape databases, we use other service providers in order to find really good companies. Actually, we also rely on a lot of our friends who are working with accelerators, who also give us quite a nice flow of companies. Then we decided that, hey, actually we could decrease the cost here, not screening them ourselves, but we could also get our community, because we have a community that funds startups to do that process. And because we're all about gamification, we created quests so that the community members themselves would nominate startups. If you have a business that you really believe in, a founder who inspires you, a mission that keeps you not awake the whole night, but for 5 minutes, then you could always bring them to us, and then we'll screen them. We run them through our diligence process, and if they're not up to par, we put them in the backlog for now. We may even work with them until they're ready to get funded, and then at some point they get onto the platform.
Scoring these projects and companies is a very significant challenge, and this is where a lot of ESG and impact investing is actually breaking down, and where a lot of the controversy is arising globally is in what is really having a positive impact and what is so-called greenwashing and what is so-called just not even legitimate.
Exactly.
How do you make the distinction?
So I leave the distinction to the experts, because like any new field, I think they're going to just come up with a lot of different frameworks for every single industry and every single level. So meaning that for companies that are public, private, your series stage or your pre-seed stage, it's too much hassle to come up with new frameworks or to consolidate it. So what we do is that we train the models to be a lot more generalized. It looks at ESG as broad topics. I bring in as many frameworks as I can and combine those under the general topics. So when I score the companies, I'm actually scoring them based on the reporting readiness, on how well they're able to then report based on these different frameworks.
How does the gamification work for the community, and what incentives have you built into the gamification systems to really help energize the community to find these great projects?
Gamification for us in terms of incentivizing the community to come into the platform, points. So we use a point system. The more actions you perform, you get some points, you raise sort of your level over time. So we're trying now to build out more and more levels, but it's also important to make sure that the modules are created in a way that is sequential, that allows the user to follow a journey, a bit of goal setting.
A lot of what you're doing with uPledge is not just ROI, economic ROI driven. A lot of it is intangible around really having a positive impact, and you know that a lot of your audience even prefers, in some cases, in many cases even, to have a positive impact before even having an economic return. How do you help people make the difference and distinction between those two things, recognizing how important at the end of the day an economic return really is?
The focus here is really finding more people who are actually like me. Like, I've been in the finance industry, but I've never loved finance. I've loved everything around finance. So there are a lot of people who are also not investing just because they want to get rich, and well, then they're not investing at all, because investing is always like, it's engineered, it's marketed as a mechanism to get rich. Some people do put money into things which are worthwhile, like Kickstarter. Lots of people just want to put money and support a great project. So the economic return is something which is actually really not a strong consideration at all for our target audience. It's always impact, it's always the founders, it's always the stories, and for themselves it's something meaningful to do. These are the same kind of folks who put a bit of money into philanthropy every month or every year.
When you think about where you take uPledge from here, there is obviously already a lot of competition and a wide variety of platforms in the crowdfunding industry. How do you maintain a differentiation today and down the road?
I think it's really understanding the user. So crowdfunding has existed. I would say it's conceptually not the right mechanism for a financial market let's say ecosystem. because crowdfunding leverages the crowd. So if you're trying to get the crowd to do something that they don't naturally do themselves in their daily lives, it's not going to fly. Which is why right now with most crowdfunding platforms, the equity types and the loan, the P2P types, have a very low adoption rate for actual retail investors.